Comedian and actor Don Knotts will be remembered fondly for several roles. Of course, Barney Fife, my hero, on The Andy Griffith Show, plus Mayberry RFD. Landlord Ralph Furley on Three's Company, The Incredible Mr. Limpet, and The Ghost and Mr. Chicken.
He was also in the Apple Dumpling Gang and other children's movies. By the way, The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, that's Holly's favorite. Our
That's right.
Of all of those, that's her favorite. But he is more fondly remembered as Dad. Karen Knotts has created a stage show based on stories about her father, Don Knotts. She is in town this week. We want to welcome her to Louisville. Thank you so much for being here with us, Karen.
Oh, thank you for having
You
me.
look fabulous.
Thank you.
Hi, Karen. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Please have a seat.
Thank you.
I was telling you a little earlier, many of the cast members of that show have been in this building for various broadcasts or,
Yes.
satellite uplinks and so forth over the years, but I never got to meet your pop, one of the great comedians of all time.
Yes, he is. And still in my mind, and that's why I'm doing the show, Tied Up in Knots, because, well, there's so many facets to my dad that people don't know. They know his work. But to me, he was always the funniest when he was just being himself, around the house. So I talk a lot about that and his relationship with Andy Griffith, who is, of course, known and loved as an icon himself. But they were great friends. Yeah. They were wonderful friends.
Were they buddies before that show started, or?
Yes, they were. And they met. My dad's biggest break in show business was when he got a small part on the Broadway show No Time for Sergeants. And Andy was the star of that show. And that's how they become friends, and their whole legacy began from that moment.
And so with your show, do you portray different characters? I think maybe I've seen you doing some impersonations
I
of some of those characters that we know and love so much.
Yes, and I do little Aunt Bee.
Yeah.
Andy, Bud.
You got it down, that's for sure.
She was always frying chicken, though. I always, watching that show, I always thought, I want to go eat in that house.
Yeah.
Because there are always biscuits and there's always fried chicken.
Exactly. She was always telling you to eat.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't love Aunt Bee?
Yeah.
Your pop, though, was so good at facial expression humor. He could tell a whole lot just with a little gesture. Now, when you were a kid and being raised, was he a great storyteller? Did he use those faces to make you guys laugh? What happened?
That face, I'll tell you, and I've performed the show for all different levels, ages. And different aged people know my father from different shows. But as soon as I say, do I look like my father? And when I get a mixed reaction, but then I go, well, what about now? Immediately, they know who he is, and that face has just transcended time.
True. So did you have a favorite character that your dad played? I mean, was it Barney Fife for you, or was it something else? Because he had so many great roles.
I really loved the fish, Mr. Limpet, the fish, because I got to be on set when he did that, and Carol Cook played his wife. So I don't know if you've seen the movie, but there's this very touching scene where the fish has lost his glasses, and he has to go back to his real-life wife to get the glasses. So she has this heartfelt scene. It's like she's talking to the fish, and she puts the glasses, and they had this box, and it's just filled with stuff, just so that the glasses would be at the right height. And she puts his glasses down on this box, and I said, that's just a box of stuff. That's not Henry Limpet. And then I realized I wanted to be an actress, because what a power that was to transport people and make them believe that that box of stuff was the fish.
Indeed. Were you too young to be on the set of Mayberry?
Oh, no, I was on the set for that, and it was a lot of fun. And I talk a lot about that in my show, because what the real characters were like behind the scenes. And
I think that's what people do, because people still trek over to North Carolina because they think Mount Pilot and everything, that's all real stuff, and there's really a movie set or whatever there.
Well, actually, Mayberry, the town of Mayberry was fictitious, but it was based on Andy Griffith's real hometown of Mount Airy in North Carolina, and that's why they have the museum out there. And every year they have Mayberry Days, which is a big festival. People get to dress up in the costumes and the characters. And
that show really has lasted over time, though, because new generations watch it today and love it just as much as when it was brand new. But when you told your dad that you wanted to be an actress and an entertainer, did he encourage that, or was he nervous about that?
Not at first. He was a little nervous about that. He would say, Karen, you know how many people spend their entire lives trying to break into show business? And I'd say, how many, Dad? And I had my pencil and paper. Let me give the number here. Of course, he didn't know.
Well, he gave us all a lot of delight and like we said, in so many different capacities in movies and TV shows.
And he was a wonderful dad. He was just a great dad. And that's the thing that I love about doing this show as a tribute to him, is that I get to reconnect with my dad out there in the glorious ether. I feel connected with him when I'm doing this, and I get to relive a lot of great moments. And that little clip that you showed at the beginning where Dad was singing to me, that was a show that he did actually help me get my start. That was his variety series, which a lot of people didn't even know about that.
Huh.
And I was on that show, and that was my debut into show business.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're here, and we'll tell people details on your show. And I'll talk to you on the radio this afternoon, too.
Fantastic.
All right,
Look forward
good.
to that.
You can see Karen Knott's show, Tied Up in Knots, Saturday night at 6 o'clock. That's at Nelson County High School.
And for tickets, you can call 502-507-4622, and you can learn more about Karen online at KarenKnotts.com.